Good afternoon, everyone. This is Dimitri with Providence, and today we are having a webinar on the new features in our Beast suite in version 11.08. We are going to go over changes not only in Beast itself, but also the other applications in our Beast suite, which are the Air Minute and Windows. And the changes of Beast are, the changes in Beast are that okay, can you please mute yourselves? All right, so the changes in Beast are that we have added the ability to enter total area emissions for polygonal area sources, and I'll explain what that involves. We've also changed the entry of our profile-based elevation a little bit. Where now Beast can fill that in for you for many stations in the United States. And then we've also changed the way that we create a line of volume sources in Beast. And then in our 8-year minute program, we have now added the ability to save backup files to Air Minute. I will show you how to do that as well. And then in Windows, we have 3 changes as well. This program can now process on-site metadata sets. It can display frequency distributions for you for the wind data that you've loaded into the program, and it can display flow vectors, and I will explain what that is as well. So the first change is in the Beast software itself, and that is the ability to enter total area emissions for polygonal areas. Now what that means is that instead of entering emissions in grams per second or pounds per hour, you can just enter the total emissions in grams or pounds for a polygonal area source. Previously, you could do that for other area sources such as circular area sources or singular ones, but not the polygons. And I can do it for polygons as well in version 11.08. To do that, though, you need to set a preference first in our software. Now we'll go ahead and go over to the software to Beast and show you how to do that. All right, so in the example model file that we have on the screen now, we have one area source that's a polygon with 5 sides. And if I go to Preferences and tell it that I want to enter the total area emissions here in grams per second and click OK, then the next time that I go to the source grid view and go to that source, you will now see that our emissions are indeed in grams per second. I can convert this to pounds per hour or tons per year, and that will be total emissions for the whole source. Now, if you've forgotten what the area is, Beast actually can display that for you as well. Click on Edit and then Calculate Area. After selecting the source, you will see the area in square meters. This number is in square meters. So that's that change. Next, we've altered our MET options a little bit, so that now we can fill in the profile-based elevation for you if your MET station is in the United States. After you've selected the metadata file for AirMod, you can now click a new button to have Beast fill in the elevation. And that's based on a set of United States met stations provided by the NCDC. So to do that, again, you would go to Met Options in Beast and add a file, which I'll go ahead and do here. Well, let's say this is file for 2013, for example. And then now I can click this new button called Retrieve from Database for the elevation, and it will fill it in based on that data that we have included in Beast. And again, this is for U.S. stations only, and that'll be 660 meters here that we have now filled in. And again, that's for AirMod files as well. Oh, sorry, AirMod files only. If you want to verify what this elevation, because the data set may be out of date, what I would recommend doing is going to Google Earth, putting in these latitude and longitude coordinates, and then getting the elevation from Google Earth, because that is likely to be very accurate from Google Earth. But if you don't have that application installed, then clicking this button may just help you get the elevation as well. And again, to use this feature, you have to have at least one file in this file list first, otherwise it won't work. All right, next, also in Beast, we have changed the ways we create a line of volume sources. And what that is that we can draw a line in Beast and then have Beast create volume sources that go along that are placed along that line. Now the change in version 11.08 is that there's been an EPA memo out called the Whole Road Workgroup Report on how to use this line of volume sources to model fugitive emissions for whole roads. What we can do now in version 11.08 is set parameters for the volume sources based on what the report recommends. In addition to that, we've changed the way that we display the lines themselves. So that now you see the line length and number of segments. And I will go ahead and go over to Beast once again for this feature. All right, so here we have let me zoom in a little bit. So here we have an example of a line that goes from your fence line to a building. I would just call it the road. Now the first change is that if I move the mouse over this name, it is now going to show me the length of the line and the number of segments, which previous versions of Beast did not do. Version 11.08 will display these new values for which is again the length of your road or other line. Then if I right-click on that and say Create Line of Volume Sources, here's where the main change has occurred in version 11.08. We had this from before for creating a line of volume sources. What we have now is that you can now input source parameters based on the typical values in that memo, in that whole work group report. What they're calling a typical vehicle is a just typical whole road vehicle. And that's explained in the memo. And again, if you do click this new button called Set to Typical, these will fill in the values based on the recommended values. Now, also in Beast, we have updated our tutorial for creating this line of volume sources to do that for a whole road based on this memo. So you may want to go over the tutorial for a slightly more detailed explanation of these new parameters. And that's, again, that's in tutorials. The tutorial is now based on the memo. And to see the memo itself, you'd go to Help and Guidance Documents in Beast. And that's in this last section called Memorandum and Guidance. It's the memo published all the way back in March 2012, which is called this Whole Road Work Group Final Report. So if you click that one, you will see the memo. Again, the Beast had been able to create the line sources previously. What has changed in version 11.08 again is that now it can set these default source parameters for you based on the whole road report. And that's the change in version 11.08. So those are the changes in Beast. The next new feature in version 11.08 is in our AER minute application. And that changes that now you can have AER minutes create backup files for you. We've added a preference to do that for you on the File Preferences tab. And this option can be turned off as well. If you don't want backup files, it can be turned off. So if you go over to Air Minutes, and go to File and Preferences, there's a new tab here called Backup Files, where you can set the option to write the files. You can tell them how often to write them and also where to save the files, which is an important thing. And if you do Air Minute, it will automatically create those files for you as you work. In this case, I've been working on a file called Demo3, and then a backup file has been automatically saved. And if I go to that backup folder, I can see that it has been saved. Now the name is slightly different because you could have the same file. You could have an image file named with the same name in different folders. This number here helps distinguish between files in different folders. So the idea is that if your image crashes and you have lost some work, you can go back to the backup folder, open up this backup file, and then your work will be restored for you. And in this example, what we have is that we are processing just 2 months of data for the Denver, Colorado med station. That's going to be used in our next feature. So again, you now have the option to save backup files in Air Minutes. Now the final set of changes are all in our Windows program. And the first one is that on this metadata menu here, you can select various files to pull into the program. So there's image files, files, various raw data files. Now there's a new option called on-site data. That's if you have an on-site station with data, you can pull that into Windows now as well. So you can import the files from an on-site station in either CSV or fixed format. And the way to do that is there's a two-step procedure there. First, you go into options and define the format, and then you would actually click that menu entry to pull in the data. So now I will go ahead and do that. And this is based on an Air Minute run for 2 months for the Denver, Colorado Met site. All right, so here's my file. And then the first step of our procedure is to define the format. To do that, you go to Options and you go to Options and go to this final tab called On-Site Format. Now in this case, we don't have a comma-separated file. It's the other option. We have one header line which has our station in it. And I'm just going to go ahead and put in the station name and number from our based on what's in that image file. And now what I have to do is go over to the right and tell Windows where each piece of data is located, which is the year, month, the hour, and then most importantly the wind speed and wind direction. And actually, in this file, they are listed in that order, so that's pretty easy. I just have to determine which columns to grab to get each piece of data. And the column numbers do start with 1. Let's see. And there's also the option here to determine the units for your wind speed and direction. In this case, the units are the default ones. Sorry, yeah, the units for your wind speed are meters per second in this file. If they are, let's say, feet per second, you would select that option. All right. Okay, so now once I've done it, once I've told Windows where all the pieces of data are, I would click OK, and then go to Metadata and select On-Site Data. I would then select the file, which is the standard text file, and then Windows pulls in the data in that file and displays it for you. So this on-site data is the new entity that we've added in the new Windows. Also, in Windows, we can now calculate the number of hours when the winds blow from each direction. We call it frequency distribution. This is a new menu entry in the program called Stats and then Frequencies. So go to Stats and Frequencies. This is new in the latest Windows. You will see this. It'll display this table for you with the number of hours is processed, number of column missing hours, and also number of hours for which the wind blows in each wind direction. Let's say if it's from 90 degrees, you have 38 hours here in your data set, and so on. And you can actually, after you see this form, you can also select the frequency and percentage options to tell you what is the percentage of hours for each wind direction. And I should go down the bottom here and wind class as well. So this may be useful to just see what kind of data you have in your data set. Here we know from the 180 degrees direction, we see 3.25% of the hours are from that direction. And once this is displayed on the screen, you can also say copy with headings, and then paste this table into Excel. Right, I can just paste that into Excel. And again, you can switch between the hours, you can switch between the hours and the percentages by selecting the option at the top of this table. I'm just going to go back to the hours, and when you're done reviewing this data, you can go ahead and click Close. And finally, in Windows, previously we've only displayed the direction from which the wind is blowing, which is how you create Windows. But now we also added the option to display the flow vectors, which is the direction to which the wind is blowing. This is also set in the on the options screen in Windows. So I'm going to go ahead and open another data file instead of this one, which is our which is the same 2013 data file I was showing before. Actually, no, sorry. All right, so here we have the windows with most of the with several pillars showing that the winds are coming from the north or the north-northwest. Now, if we go to options, let's say display flow vectors here on the left, it's going to flip that around to show you that the winds are flowing to the southeast or the south-southeast. And you can switch back and forth by going to options and selecting the flow vectors or going back to wind directions. And again, the flow vectors are the direction to which the wind is blowing, to which the wind is going. But by default, we're displaying the wind arrows, which is the direction from which it's going. Okay, those are the features in our Beest 11.08. I will now go ahead and unmute the phones, and we'll go ahead and take questions from the audience.